Hello, Amos here. We'll be coming back with regular videos on math, history, mathematics, and you'll be seeing videos on the channel as well that have to do with just practice problems. We're going through Algebra 1 and Algebra 2, me and a few team members. So we'll be going through equations, graphing, inequalities, systems of equations, polynomials, factoring, rational expressions, radicals, quadratics, and functions. And by the time you get a solid base with those things, you can then go into pre-calculus with confidence. The course before what I just described would be a traditional pre-algebra course, and that would include content like fractions, decimals, percents, ratios, and proportions. We have all those videos ready for you. You can find the link in the description. That course is free to take the online component, so feel free to click on the free option and learn the material. Then you dive into the Algebra 1, Algebra 2 combined material, and then pre-calculus and geometry combined. Now, one of the things that is interesting about mathematics sometimes is that the higher your bar in learning mathematics, the more likely it is for you to actually apply yourself in the present. Let me explain. In Nigeria, the curriculum that they use for mathematics in 12th grade includes Calculus 1 concepts. That's the case in Nigeria in the regular math class. Now, there's an advanced math class you can take, and we took that when I was in high school. I wasn't planning to do that. I wanted to do economics, but because I was the head boy or student body president, they recommended that I also take further mathematics. They wanted the head boy to take the most difficult classes possible. Yeah, but they didn't guarantee if I would pass the WAEC exam, which is the final exam, the cumulative exam. Now, we thank God I passed. It went okay, but further mathematics was not funny when I was in high school. Now I'm a physicist. We thank God I'm a medical physicist and math and science curriculum writer. And I wish I paid way more attention. I paid attention, don't get me wrong. There was 84 people in my class though. And we were mostly very well-behaved students. But I would say that I didn't always understand why we were doing what we were doing in math class. So that was part of the battle. It's like, why am I doing this? That was a question I asked a lot. I guess I was a philosopher right from when I was young. But today, though, I want to introduce you to the book that we're going to be discussing. So we're going to have the math discussions on the side. We're going to keep talking about all those concepts I described. But we're going to turn our attention to the Elements of Algebra, which is a book by Leonard Euler. Now, Euler is my favorite mathematician, period. James Clerk Maxwell and Michael Faraday are my favorite physicists. But I would say that Euler made a huge impact on the world. And there's a lot to be said about Euler. So what I'm going to do is over the next few weeks, I'm actually going to be pulling out lessons from Elements of Algebra. So this is a book that everybody needs to read. Look at Euler's writing there. Pretty cool. Okay, let's start from the beginning. It says Leonard Euler with additional material by Joseph Louis Lagrange and Joan Bernoulli. Man, this is serious. Okay, so this particular version, of course, the original writing, I would say one of the earliest ones, was published around 1765. Before America became a nation, Euler wrote this book. Before America was a nation. That is a long time ago. We just celebrated our 250th independence in America, and Euler, as I said, was writing this. Now, one thing that is interesting about Euler's life, let me pull out a book here. One of these, there's these short books, who was this, who was that. One of the interesting things about Euler is that when he did some of his work, Catherine the Great was around, and you had work happening in Prussia that he went back to. But we think sometimes that people only do their work when there's tranquility, right? Catherine the Great was born in 1729. Euler was born in 1707. He died in 1783. And so one of the things that I think is very interesting is that we have to look at the fact that Euler faced challenges, right? And that's part of what I want to discuss today. We're going to get into the meat of the book, but who is Euler, right? Who's Euler? So what we're going to do is let's just start a little bit. There's a memoir of the life and character of Euler. That's where it goes into next. The memoir of the life and character. The life and character. Isn't that interesting? Because that's where you see, again, I have my colleagues that are going to record a lot of math videos. There's going to be YouTube lives every week on different math topics. But one thing that is going to be interesting during the era we live in is that it's not enough to know things anymore. You're also going to want to discuss the question of character and how should I live? And I think Euler is one of the best examples of you can be a teacher of excellence, but you can also be a person of character and integrity. And Euler and Maxwell, I think, exemplified that well, and Faraday, and I'm sure many others. But let's learn from their character. So let's read a little bit about his bio today, and then tomorrow we'll finish out his bio and then probably start diving into some of the material, which starts with what is mathematics. That's the first thing he discusses. But Euler was born the son of a clergyman in the neighborhood of Basel and was born on the 15th of April, 1707. His natural turn for mathematics soon appeared from the eagerness of and facility with which he became master of the elements under the instructions of his father, by whom he was sent to the University of Basel at an early age. He was a teenager, like I'm talking 14 years old or so, very young. There, his abilities and his application were so distinguished that he attracted the particular notice of John Bernoulli. That excellent mathematician seemed to look forward to the youth's future achievements in science, while his own kind care strengthened the powers by which they were to be accomplished. Mentorship matters. We'll come back to that. In order to superintend his studies, which far outstripped the usual routine of the public lecture, he gave him a private lesson regularly once a week. When they conversed together, when they conversed together on the acquisitions which the pupil had been making since their last interview, considered whether difficulties might have occurred in his progress, and arranged the reading and exercises for the ensuing week. So let me explain the principle that was at work here and how we use that with all our students at Life Academy and the Counting to Calculus program. So Euler was meeting with the Bernoulli, okay? But Bernoulli, there are many Bernoullis. There was a Bernoulli that was a contemporary of Newton. Actually, there was multiple Bernoullis around that time, multiple in the 1700s. In the history of math, you'd hear a lot about the Bernoullis. But one of the Bernoullis here, so John Bernoulli, it happens that you can see talent sometimes at an early age, and you're like, this person is going to go far. And so he dedicates time, even though he was busy, to meeting with Euler once a week. And the idea is, meet with a student once a week. Find out how the last week went. What did they struggle with? What do they need to work on? How can they keep making progress? Tell them what to do for the next week. Then come back that next week and continue working with the student. It takes a certain type of student to succeed in the day and age we live in. That student, I would argue, is the self-driven student willing to do the work. One of the things that troubles me is that there's a lot of change going on in our day and age, but some students are going to still keep learning like we're living 25 years ago. 25 years ago, if I finished my textbook in Nigeria, my new general mathematics textbook 1, this is the one we use in 10th grade. When I finish this book, if I've mastered this book, I couldn't just be promoted into the next book, which I would take and start using. I had to wait till the next year. Sometimes you didn't even have access to this book. So you had to wait till, okay, it's time for this year, then you get this book. By the way, speaking of these books, we actually have them now in America. So if you would like the Nigerian math textbooks, reach out to us with from our website, learningforexcellence.com. But what is interesting is these books were very, very important in my upbringing in math. I would argue Euler's book is now one of my favorites, but this is what I grew up with. And you had to wait till the next year. We are still teaching students today as though they need to wait till next year before they can do the thing that they need to do. You see what I mean? Like, we're telling students, Algebra 1 will take you a year. Well, how do we know that? We don't know if it's going to take you a year. It might take you 4 months, 5, 6. I'm not rushing anybody, but my point is, if you understand how to add polynomials, you don't have to do 75,000 problems of it. Move on to multiplying them. Move on to dividing them. Move on to factoring polynomials. Do you see what I mean? Keep moving. And if you don't know how to add polynomials, don't multiply them. So maybe you need more time. The idea of math classes being restricted by time it's a concerning idea. There are general timelines, but the student also needs to take ownership and say, I'm going to do more if they can. That's going to be critical in the AI revolution. So anyways, new general mathematics. Those were interesting times. So Euler was learning from Bernoulli. Who is your mentor? Who is your math mentor? That's the question I'm going to leave us with. Who is your child's math mentor? If you want us to help, we'll definitely love to help. But a mentor can help your child go far. Have a blessed day.